Hello, hi, this is the more in-depth version. Oh crap, hang on, hold on. This is a more in-depth version of the tutorial for the Maddog X because it's in Microsoft Flight Sim 2020, and so it'd be more relevant that I finish what I originally started, which is gonna make more in-depth tutorial. So that's good. Game's loading up now. It's kind of loud. I'm sorry. Hang on. It's kind of loud. Hang on. Let's turn that down real quick. Ow, ow, my ears. Ow, hang on. Hold on. Hang on. It's here and yep. Okay. So the first thing that you're gonna need to do before you actually even fly the plane, let's say you want to do your first flight, and you need to open up the Maddog X Load Manager. It'll come installed. You select the version of your simulator, Microsoft Flight Sim 2020. That's what we're using. So do that, and it'll load the nav database. You update nav databases through the Navigraph Nav Data Pro Center. If you use Aerosoft Nav Data Pro, you're an idiot. Uninstall it and get Navigraph. The way you install liveries is you download the zip file, and then you're going to want to put it into your documents folder, Maddog X files, which is, let's see if I can find it here, Maddog X files, and then MSFS 2020 liveries, and then you drop it in there, and then you drop the zip there, and then you go liveries manager, and then you can do this, switch it over, and I've got two installed right now. We're going to be flying the Delta Airlines widget. The way you do load measuring is we're going to fly in America today, so it's pounds, and get rid of this, uncheck these two. It'll come checked. I got rid of the static pilots in the cockpit. Panel state, I delete to do not change. This is the save and sync button if you want to save all those things, whatever. Anyway, so we're flying November 955 Delta Lima, and what you can do is you can use the SimBrief downloader here. I'll show you what that looks like here, and you can port over your SimBrief flight plan to the MD-80 routes and the MD-80 ACARs. That way you can simply import the OFP into your thing here, flying Boston to Detroit Metro. And you import that, and then automatically everything's in. It's in pounds. It's easy. Save and sync, very good. And that's all. Now here you can change the aircraft configuration. This you need to do. I think, well, the sim is not running, so I have it already configured. But you can toggle different things of equipment, like the RMI if it has DME, or the cockpit colors, or the cockpit units. Or I always like to have the electronic flight bag on to control stuff. And there's simulator options, which are all very self-explanatory. I recommend having this on if you like to actually integrate your SimBrief flight plan. So that's the load manager. We'll bring it to the side, and we'll load it into the sim. So once you spawn in, the first thing you're gonna have to deal with is the fact that on the aircraft's first load, it's gonna be taking like anywhere from 20 to 50 minutes. I've heard people say. So if it takes a while, that's because it's initializing all its crap and whatever its systems, anyways. So we'll select that there, and it's just simple. I'm just gonna cut to when I'm spawned in at the gate at Boston, because you already know how you use the simulator. If you don't, that's another video. Okay, hello, and welcome to Alpha 15 gate at Boston Logan International. I couldn't get the jetways connect because I don't know why it's like that. That's just how the scenery is, I guess. And this is the aircraft that we're loaded into, and yeah, we're doing this on that sim, by the way. So there's stuff. I don't have model matching installed because I only recently started using Microsoft Flight Sim again because there's this new plane. So the cockpit. It's very daunting. We're going to be flying as first officer today. And yeah, it is a very complicated looking thing. First thing you need to do really is to turn on the EFB, which is done by holding down the home button. And that'll take a couple seconds to boot up. We can do the same on the captain's side as well, for no reason. So, you can go to aircraft services. We have the main door opened up. These are all your doors here. And we're going to need the GPU connected, most definitely. The thing I also need to do is turn up the volume again for this. So this will have your OFP in it if you've uplinked it with SimBrief Downloader. This will have your load sheet in it, which should already be filled out if you've done it through the load manager. Takeoff and landing performance and setups, so like turning on flight mode and stuff. Now, if you opt out to use the EFB and you still want your performance, you can click here for a little takeoff data card, which will read your current aircraft's weight and balance values and put together a little something special for you. So yeah, there's nothing else really to it. We're gonna go to the overhead, and it's not divided out that well in my opinion, but when you've flown it enough, it gets fairly simple. So right here is the battery switch. You click it once to turn it on. You click it twice to lock it into place. You have your APU bus and your external power bus left and right. We can turn these on. Now everything's on. We can turn the galley power on as well. And if you come all the way up here, we can turn the ground service electric power to external power. And we can turn on the maintenance interphone. Now the mechanic call doesn't work like it does in the P3D version, but I always leave the maintenance interphone on just for realism purposes. We'll set up the standby VHF panel to monitor VHF3 interphone, PA, and marker audio. And we can test these loops here. This is just testing like which system they are on. And this is a cargo suppression test, which is working. A fire suppression test. Let me just double check to see if this test works, like in terms of, yeah, you get master warning. Check for that as well. Okay, so we're not going to use panel lights right now. It's still day out, but these are for the overhead lights and the overhead floodlights. I guess we'll put in the flight recorder information. So it's the 2nd of May. So that's day 2, month 5. And that flight number is 1623. And you can go over a bit there for a 4-digit flight number, and it's leg 1, and we'll just insert that. We can check the voltages of all our buses with these indicators here and this knob here, and we can see that external power is giving us almost like 120 volts-ish. That's definitely sufficient. So we'll continue down. All of this is good. All of this can stay off for now. Arm the emergency exit lights, and then no smoking can go to auto. Seatbelts can stay off. We can turn the meter select and heat to the captain selection, and we can turn the windshield anti-ice on. We can leave the cockpit door unlocked for now. Wipers off. These are your cabin altitude and cabin rate gauges here. So we can set up our pressurization information now in that case. So the elevation at Boston above sea level is something like 19 feet, yeah. So this goes in increments of 100, so we'll put it to there. Boston should be, no, Boston is actually not online. In that case, I'll grab a METAR through vPilot. Yeah. No, yeah, it ain't. Well, Boston's usually always online. So the altimeter is 3013. That's the only information we need right now, because we need to put the altimeter in here. So that looks about good. The air conditioning supply switches can come to auto, as well as we can turn that on. Oh, hang on. Okay, yeah, I just accidentally performed a test there, yeah. So if you flip these to on, and then press this button to call the flight attendant, in the P3D version, it'll bring up a menu of things you can do, but I guess in this, it just automatically goes to the emergency light test. But yeah, that's one of the things you can do. So that's good. We can test the anti-skid, which should, yeah, give us 2 warnings there. Stall test. We're looking for the oral warning. And the light there. And do the max speed warning test. I believe that one's just oral. Okay, yaw damper is on. That's good. This can stay all as it is from when you start it up. We can test the wind shear. We're looking for that and the PFD indication. Very good. And the ground proximity test. This is the longest of all of them, I think. I'll show you what that's like. So it'll show a couple warnings down here and test the terrain system on the ND there. I believe that's what it does. And these all need to be facing up. This is just like different system sources, selectors. Okay, so that's the overhead done. We'll move to the pedestal now. So, Couple things, these can be on ADF. These are again more lights that we're not going to worry about. Pneumatic crossfeeds, these are important, but they're going to stay closed for now. This is the transponder, so you can edit the range here. That will be displayed on the captain or first officer's VSI. I usually like to have it at 15, as well as for the departure, tilt above. And we're also going to put the code to IFR 2000, leave it on standby. We can also run a transponder test, which will test the screen, and CPI pass.
System test, okay.
Very well. Okay. Up here, we can check that the pressurization wheel is working by just like scrolling it up a whole bunch. This is the manual pressurization selector. So we'll do that, and then if we click this, it should just roll right back down. Yeah. So that's working fine. Very, very well. And I believe that's everything up there. We can have these guys, these weather radars to tilt. I like to have it about 3 degrees up. We can test the thrust rating system, and that's working. We can test the fire loops as well.
Fire left engine. Fire right engine. Fire left engine.
Test the other loop.
Fire left engine. Fire right engine.
Very good. Okay. We can cage the altimeter here by just holding it. Sometimes you have to hold it twice to get it into place. We'll set the local barometric pressure on the standby altimeter as well as the first or the captain's altimeter, which is actually linked. Both of them are linked. Leave this as it is. Make sure that this is, yeah. You know, I probably should have done that. In a lot of planes, if you kill the parking brake, it'll kill the external power. Okay, anyways, enough of this low FOV business. Coming down here, we can set up the VHF panel for the captain, which is VHF 100 from PA marker. Move this to test the oxygen, make sure the oxygen supply is on, 100% oxygen indicated. And yeah, blah blah blah, checking that all the emergency equipment is on board if you're that kind of person. Same configuration, as well as testing it. So that's all nice and good. So I think that right about now we are in a fit state to check out the FMS on board this aircraft. Yeah. Did it? No, it's still connected. Okay, cool. Okay, on to that. Actually, one more thing. Nav light comes on as well. And press EPR limb on the MCP. Two things that I forgot. Those will be important. Okay, now actually onto this. So it's very similar to a Boeing system, as I'll demonstrate. We can do the ident page. We're flying an MD-82 today with the JT-8D engines. AirAct 2204 is installed, which is the latest. We can go to our position in it and type in our departure airport, Boston Logan International. We're located at gate Alpha 16. I think I said Alpha 15. Now, yeah, sometimes in this plane it won't recognize the gate number, but that's fine. All we need to do really is put in the GNS position. So before we fill out the route, I'd like to fill out the ACARS firsthand. Now the ACARS on this plane is a lot more limited to the P3D counterpart, so there's only a couple things we can do. One of those being filling out the init data. Once again, if you've used a SimBrief downloader to fill out the ACARS, you can just do an init data request and it'll fill out all the information for you, but the weight and balance we have to fill out manually. So in accordance with the OFP, we have a trip fuel of 11,551, 11,551 pounds of fuel. Taxi fuel is 800 pounds. The block fuel is 23,212 pounds. If I can fill that out correctly, there we go. And we'll just send that off. You'll know it's sent when the star appears, which it has, as well as request a flight plan. which will just give you basic flight plan information. Now, there's three messages we're going to expect from this. Number one is the initial load sheet. Number two is a flight plan. Number three is the final load sheet, which will happen when the fictionalized boarding is complete. Yeah, this is it here. Okay, now we can fill out the actual meat of this. So we're just going to fill out the company route, which is Boston to Detroit, Delta Tango Whiskey. No 01 at the end, and that'll fill it out. Before I go ahead and verify the company route is correct, I'll demonstrate to you, or I'll just show you these new messages. You'll get the ding when you get an ACARS message. You got a light here, which you can just click to reset. Coming back here, we have the crew message, which is our preliminary weights as well as the flight plan. So I can actually pour through this, and we can see all kinds of, this is our route here, so I can actually verify it through this. So we have direct Highland, direct Cam, Peggy, or hang on, Cam, and then some airways to Gons, direct to Neo. Yeah, so that, see, that is a good route that we verified is correct. Now, for runway for departure, I'll finish reading the METAR here, which I'll actually bring up to you here. The winds are 090 at 7 knots, 10 statute miles, Barcode 65 overcast, 15,000, temperature 12, altimeter 3. So it's not icing conditions. With the winds 090 at 7, that would make, let's see here, that would make there is a runway 9er. I don't think they usually use that for departures though, unless it's a high traffic situation. So I think we'll just take runway 04 left in that case. We can activate and execute that. Once again, just like in a Boeing. So I'll move to the departure and arrivals page. Alright, we'll take runway 09 on the Highland 6 in that case. That's the ideal runway. I just don't think it would be used in a more practical sense. Okay. So, let's brief for the Highland 6 departure then. I'll read the note here. So, in fact, I can probably bring it up here, can I? No, I have to verify through that. So, I'll just bring it up to here. So, the Highland 6 departure goes as follows. Radar required for non-GPS. Turbojets only. Departure heading RNAV tracks / vectors are predicated on avoiding noise-sensitive areas. That's fine. 18,000 feet transition 9.1 and DME is required. We have that on board. Top altitude is 5,000 feet. So I'll just bug that on the MCP altitude here. We'll go through how the MCP is in a little bit. So for runway 09, we're going to take off headings 092 to 520. We have that. Then direct claw at or above 4,000. We have that. At or below 250 knots. Then on depicted route to Highland. The depicted route is going to be, I believe they have an inset. No, they don't. It's just, so 09. Court, Stake, Draft, and then direct to Highland. Okay, so that works good. So that completes departure brief. No significant terrain in the area. MSA is 2,000 feet for the sector. Takeoff minimums are going to be about 1250 feet per minute or above. For runway 9er, it's standard. Just do not exceed 250 knots. Still going. Okay, cool. So in that case, we can do a couple things now for the fixed page. You can't do fixed rings or whatever like you can in a Boeing or an Airbus. You can just type in whatever fix. I'm just going to type in Boston, and it'll give us a bearing and a distance to it, and that's always good to have for reference, as well as I'm going to tune Boston VOR 112.7 as a reference, and we should get DME and bearing pointer from it. Let's just make sure this is on nav display. Alright, that's all good now. So now we can do the initial reference page as well. So the initial or the preliminary load won't give us everything. It'll give us some. So I'm still going to have to go off the OFP here. So for the zero fuel weight, we are going to have 102.3 tons. And for the fuel, it's 23.2. And Now, for scheduled, you either type A or N, normal or alternate. So, in this case, it's normal. Reserves are 2.8, we'll round to 2.7, or it's like 28,799, just round to that. So we're going up to level 340 today. With the cruise winds 282831. I usually ignore that because by the time we like if it's a difference of 400 feet, that difference will easily be made burning fuel in the taxi and takeoff. Only if it's like 1,000 feet or more do I really begin to take that into consideration. So that's that filled out. Now it's on to the takeoff performance. So you could use the card, which would be a lot easier, or you could go ahead and try and get yourself a more accurate calculation through the OFP, or sorry, through the EFB here. So I'm just going to copy off the METAR information, so you can enter the airport here. We're using runway 9er today. Uh, it looks like it's dry conditions. I'd say it's damp, but I'll keep it at dry. The winds are 090 at 7, so let's put 90 at 7. Outside air temperature is 12 degrees Celsius. Altimeter is 3013. Flaps optimum, anti-ice is off, packs are on. The takeoff weight, I'll just grab from the OFP as well, 134,699. So we'll calculate that. It's giving us a flex temp of 39 degrees Celsius, a flap value of 13 degrees. We'll rotate 133, 137, and 146, clean speed 237. I'll show you how you can input all this information, starting with the flaps. So, the MD-80 incorporates a dial-a-flap system which is seen as well on the Boeing 707, or Boeing 717, and MD-11. You can select between slats extended 11 degrees and 15 degrees for takeoff, or if you want a specific value, you're going to want to scroll up on this little dial here until you see 13 degrees. Okay, now when we move this past 0, that's when it goes to the dial flap mode and it'll set 13 degrees. And we've just got a PDC clearance from Boston Center. So I'll take a look at that in a second. I'm just going to finish takeoff performance here. Cell temp 139. There's two modes for takeoff with the TRS. Takeoff, which will give you an automatic value of something like 1.93, and takeoff flex, which is what we're selecting, and you'll see this number pop up and you want to set it to the temperature you desire, which in this case is 39. Let's just real quick enter the values here, 133, 137, and 146. These have no meaning, it's just purely for the sake of filling out all the information. I'll show you where you actually get your V-speeds displayed, and it's through this analog speed gauge. Now, it'd be a pain to set these up all manually, so you just click it once and they automatically set up. Same for this side. So that pretty much completes pre-flight. The next thing we need to do is set up the instruments for departure, but I'm going to go ahead and read the clearance we got first. So, 4737 in the transponder. Climb by 6, expect 340, initial. I'm ready to push, or if you have questions. Okay, so we'll call up Boston Center when we're ready for pushback. So, next thing we got to do is, let's see here. So, I am just going to check SimiWare to see if they are using the 4s. Or no, I'm going to check ATIS. Sorry, I forgot Center's online, so that means there's ATIS. So, Bravo. I'm going to disregard all the weather information because we already have that. Departing runway 9. Hey, so we're good. Okay. Okay. And information Bravo. Okay. So, we're going to fill out, or we're going to set up the instruments for departure. So, you have your ND control here. You have the mode and the range. You can turn on ADF bearing pointers. Definitely don't need that. So for the captain's side, I usually take to have it on 40 miles, navigates, airports, and data. And I'm going to sync the course on this to the runway heading. That's a personal preference, because if we need to return to the airport for some reason, having the course bug set is always a good convenience. We'll bug V2 on the MCP speed here. This is the heading. I like to have this on 30 degrees for departure, and once again we'll set 092. We have 5,000 bugs, and once again 092, in which case we can turn the flight directors on. Whatever you do, do not click the auto throttle button. In a Boeing, it looks very similar to be the auto throttle arm. In this, it's just to turn it on and make the system active. So if you turn that on while you're taxiing or something, you're gonna get you know, whatever thrust you had selected, which in this case is flex 39. So yeah. By the way, we're not getting an the E per value here with this, so that's interesting. See what that means in a second. Oh yeah, this is another test here. I forgot to do the brake heat test. You get the gauge going up in the light, and you can see it on all these monitors here. Yeah, so we're gonna check that actually after departure to make sure that our brakes aren't heated up. And for the first officers, we'll just have it on 10 miles map, data, and terrain. You can select the terrain on this or this. It's kind of in an awkward position. I'll leave this on this while we wait for the final load sheet message. And now I'm going to show you how to start up the APU. Actually, before that, this is definitely a personal preference. Some people do this right as they're lining up. If you click these gray buttons, you'll get Takeoff on the FMA twice, as well as the flight directors pointing up. That is, once again, a toga mode. I like to have that displayed. Anyway, so yeah, turning on the APU. Before we do that, we're going to lock the cockpit door. We're going to turn on the seatbelt sign. We're going to move the transponder to mode Charlie, and then now we'll set it up. Starting with the overhead. The rightmost fuel pumps come on. The start pump comes on. We'll move this to APU. Coming down to the captain's side, we'll go down here to this panel. Turn the trans and AUX hydraulic pumps on. And open the pneumatic crossfeed valves. Now we can start the APU. Move it to run. Start for a few seconds, let go, and we have the EGT and RPMs here. And in a moment, you'll see it begin to start up. Now while we're doing that, we can also go here. No, I don't want to start boarding. No, what are you doing? What are you doing? Stop it. Close the doors. Close all these doors. I don't want anybody on my plane. You guys are already boarded. Stop boarding, please. Don't board. Whatever, I'm gonna let it be. All the doors are closed anyway. Once it's started up, you'll see the APU veil light, and then we can switch it on these buses and switch these buses off. You can check the voltage, good. Move that to for engine start. Then we can turn off the start pump, but we're going to need it on again for engine start, so we'll leave it off anyway. We can turn on the left fuel pumps. And we do actually have fuel in the center tank. So center pump's coming on. In preparation for engine start, these air conditioning supply switches can come off, as well as the bleed air can come on for the APU. That's where it is. So now beacon light comes on, or anti-collision, as it is known. And we are good to call up Boston Center for the pushback. So we'll get 134.7. This is VHF1, by the way. This is VHF2. And that's VHF3. So, we'll call them up. Boston Center, Delta 1623, gate Alpha 16 at Boston Logan, Aegis Bravo, ready for push and start.
Delta 1623. Thank you for Bravo. Pushback on the ramp at pilot's discretion. Advise spot 7 ready to taxi.
Push at our discretion, we'll call short of spot 7 for the taxi Delta 1623.
Hotel Bravo Romeo Mike Sierra. Leaving my airspace. Moncton Center is offline. Radar service terminated. Frequency change approved. Have a good day.
Okay, so we are located here on gate 16. We're going to push back, and this is spot 7 here, I believe. So that's what we're going to wait for. Or that's what we're going to hold of. So we'll push under there. Anyway, so we'll call up the pushback toolbar thing.
Kilo Mike, cross on right.
I've tried to diagnose the problem, and nothing is working, so we're going to do this like they did it in the 80s, and we're going to do an on-stand startup. Block timer to run. Open up these two covers. System A or System B.
4 left. JetBlue 1755.
Start right. And you use the scroll wheel to hold it down without having to actually hold it down. Observe the N2 that is rising. One thing you gotta do before all of that is check that the start pressure is above 30 psi, which it is.
You have approach for us. Is it 4 left or 4 right? On Hip 1978.
You can click it once at 20% N2 to bring the fuel in.
1978, you can expect 4 right.
And we're looking for fuel flow, we're looking for the rise in oil pressure and temperature. And we're waiting for those oil lights to go out there as well. That's the ACARS message for the final load sheet. And now we can bring this and put it to progress. So a good start on that. We can check the voltage of the generator through that. That's good. Close that. And same thing again. Very, very good. And 20% into. Fuel comes on. Very well. And the generator's got good voltage. These lights are out, so it's a good start on both engines. So we close that, start pump off, ignition selector off. We can take the APU generators off the bus. We can turn off the APU bleed and the APU, as well as the air conditioning slide switches can come on again.
Boston Center, JetBlue 1755, just checking we're clear to cross 4 left.
Now a couple things we can do here.
Crossing right 4 left at Charlie.
We can set the flaps to the dial flap position,
Roger, crossing 4
so
left at Charlie.
that's 2
JetBlue
notches.
1755.
And we need to look for flaps 13 degrees, so that's like somewhere in between there. Yeah, TO. We set 13. So that's just about right. In that case, we can move this auto brake to TO and arm it. It'll only arm if the flaps are set. And we can also set up our CG here, which I actually need to check through the ACARS again. Is 14.6, so that's about good, and we're using flap 13. So you can drag it down, or you can just use whatever trim you have binded to your yoke or side stick. Very well. Now that's done, we can arm the spoilers as well. By clicking that, and the little red thing will come up. And we can do flight controls, left, right, center, down, and up. Alright, so parking brakes are released, and now we're gonna do it like the olden days.
Takeoff runway 9, JetBlue 1755.
Yeah! Okay, and flip it around. Use a little bit of differential braking. And back into it. There we go. Very nice. So that's how you push back an MD-80 under those circumstances. Boston Center, Delta 1623, spot 7, ready for taxi, runway 9er.
Delta 1623, spot runway 9er, taxi via Kilo Mike, cross runway 4 left.
Kilo Mike, cross 04 left, Delta 1623. Okay, so we taxi by Kilo, and then Mike, so that's real simple, straightforward taxi. To turn on the taxi light, it's the dim position for the nose lights. In case you can tell, all the lights for this aircraft are on the glare shield here. And taxiing this plane, at least in this simulator, is kind of awkward. I don't remember being it like that in the other simulator. But one thing I've noticed, oh, fire detector loop, hang on a second here. I think I might have left something in a position up here. Yep. There we go. Is that the takeoff flex isn't actually giving me an EPR value, even though the performance said flex 39. So I'm gonna leave it on takeoff, but I don't know like if it's chill or not. We can clear this master caution now because there's actually nothing up here. Rudder travel unrestricted. That's perfectly normal, by the way. It's usually like that for, like, you know, taxi takeoff procedure. I don't exactly know what it means, but I just know that it's normal. And I don't rely too heavily on the ND, as you can tell the yoke is covering it. But there it is, you know. Once again, very similar format, instrument-wise, to a Boeing once you're in there. So coming up on here, going to cross it, and we can turn on the strobe light now, as well as check for traffic, and there is none. So becoming clear of that, we can hop onto Mike here.
Delta 1623, wind 120 at 9er, runway 9er, cleared for takeoff.
9er clear for takeoff, Delta 1623. Alright.
JetBlue 1755, radar contact, say altitude.
So nose lights on, we can extend and turn on the wing landing lights,
1755.
as well
JetBlue
as
1755, thank you. Climb and
turn
maintain
this to TA.
14,000.
Alright, we can turn these off, by the way, as well.
Climb maintain 14,000, JetBlue 1755.
And check, and that's clear, and that's good. So we can also turn on continuous ignition, which in this plane is just turning on the ignition selector to both. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. So here we go. So I'm gonna get out of the way of the block timer, and we're gonna move this to about 40% N1, which I can never exactly get right, but we're just looking to make sure that all the temperatures and pressures are normal, which they are. So we'll just click the auto throttle once, and we'll get April 39. There we go. We had it set to 11 and not 13, so it's actually the third click. That's my bad. V1. And What? Alright, hello, this is like 2 days later. This is take 2 of the takeoff. One thing I can mention now that it's darker is these two switches here are for the wing lights, and up here is the logo light for when you're flying at night. Same conditions relatively. We're doing the takeoff with the anti-ice on. For the anti-ice to be on, you need the trans and aux pumps on, as well as the pneumatic cross feeds open. And if we go up here, you have your engine anti-ice, your anti-fog, and your airfoil anti-ice. I know it's kind of brief, that's just because I'm on the roll now. I'll go over it again. Once we is in the air, so clock timer started, we're rolling. Okay, power set. Checked. Nice and gentle. Be a little easy with it. It's easy to tail strike it. Okay, positive rate of climb. We'll select gear up, and we'll follow the flight directors to pitch for V2 plus 10 or 15 or whatever. This is the radio altimeter here that you're seeing here. Past 400 feet will engage nav, and past 1,000 feet will engage VNAV for an NADP2 departure. Well through that, we'll engage VNAV and select climb on the thrust rating system. Simple as that, yeah? I'm going to put the autopilot in nice and early so I can go through everything else we can do. We can turn off all the lights. I know, kind of interesting. You wouldn't usually be doing that. I'll just check that everything is good here. In that case, we can bug up our cruise level, which is now 280, and just click it to arm it. You'll know it's armed with the little orange alt. Passing 180 knots, we'll bring the flaps in, slats stay out. I'll bring this to the climb performance page. And you can see we're doing direct enhance on the same SID, the Highland 6, just a different runway. Runway 4 right this evening. Passing through 200 knots, we'll select flaps up or slats up. One thing you gotta note is you can't go from like flaps 40 to that like that. You have to bring it to the 0 position, wait for the flaps to retract, and then bring it back again to go to slats up. So some people will, after landing, they'll be like taking off, or they'll be putting the flaps and they'll just leave it, like click it all the way up and think that it's up, but the slats are still out because you have to wait for the rest to come up. So the LNAV is doing its very best to fly the track. It's not doing very well. Even though the bank angle is set to 30, it's overshooting the thing here. And we're breaking through the clouds. Very good. So yeah, so far there's nothing really to do. The next thing I can imagine we'll be doing is turning off the anti-ice and the continuous ignition once we break through the clouds, which is now. It's very pretty, I know, yeah. So by doing that, we'll just flick off the airfoil anti-ice, the windshield anti-fog, and the engine anti-ice. Those are the anti-ice systems. The windshield anti-ice is like a window heat, so it stays on all the time. And we can, in that case, turn off the trans and aux pumps and close the pneumatic crossfeed valves, as well as turning off continuous ignition. One thing I just did there that I didn't display or didn't describe is this. So this changes the autopilot source. So if you're the first officer and you want to fly the ILS displayed on here, you need this to be on AP2, so it'll follow this, radio tuner selector thing. So that's good. We're making all these restrictions here. Herbie at or above 4,000 is the only main restriction. I'm pretty sure we did that. And we're climbing up very nice. You see, a lot of these planes, like, it's really the pre-flight that's complicated. But once you get up in the air, it's fairly smooth sailing. We can also display the weather on this side and bring the terrain on this side. Yeah, for some reason, like, clicking on the ND, like, left click or right click will change the mode, and I don't really like that.
Taxiing to 4 right via Mike Bravo. Awesome.
Very good. What a beautiful departure, man. Oh yeah, some guy had an engine failure on the takeoff roll. That's why I got out before him. But yeah, no ATC online right now. Man, that is pretty. It's a good thing I have the time to go ahead and take a break and take some screenshots. The glory of RNAV aircraft, yeah? It does everything for you. Change this up here. It's going to be bearing 316 from Shan to Highland. Just bring up the range here. Wow. I can finally appreciate this simulator now that we have a proper airliner. I mean, the fly-by-wire is good and all, but I'm not an Airbus person, in case you couldn't tell by my also existent love for aircraft like this, but now it's like I can appreciate it and whatever. It's awesome. Oh yeah, disarm the spoilers. That's another thing that I forgot to do. We're about to pass through 10,000 feet, so we'll run the checks. We'll turn off the wing lights, and we'll turn off the logo light. And that is all. We're good to go. So yeah, just let it fly, the SID and whatever, you know. I'll show you a little bit about what the FMS can do and whatever. Like, you know, this is if you want to go direct to something, or if you want to enter a hold, you can select it and then type in the information. Very similar to a Boeing. So I'm going to catch up with you when we level off at level 280 for the next thing. We're about 117 miles away from top of descent. I'm going to start briefing at 100, but I'm going to start a little bit earlier just because I'm going to be explaining everything as I go along. So, one thing I'm going to get over with that is very much optional in this aircraft is inputting the descent forecast to get a more accurate ETA. So you go to the descent page and you can go to forecast, and as you can see we can input 4 altitudes and their corresponding winds. And you can actually get this all from the OFP, which I'll get through this here. As I said before, if you've put this in through the SimBrief downloader, you can just look at everything. And you can go to wind information here, and you can see here, if we go here, top of descent, or yeah, descent here, we can see we have 5 altitudes to pick from. I'll do 10, 15, 20, and 31. So it's kind of hard, to be honest, to you know, check and double check and whatever. So I'm just gonna not use that and go off of the OFP on my second monitor, but I just wanted to show you where you can find that. If you're using the SimBrief OFP here, then it's going to be on the third, oh, sorry, I'll just open this up. It's going to be on the 7th page, depending on how many legs you have, but it should be like right below the legs page. So yeah. The first one we have is 31,000 feet, and typing is again delayed. Yeah, we have 20,000 feet. I want to see if I can just put in 150. I got flight level 150. Sometimes it doesn't work. No, I see it does work. There you go. Okay. In some planes, you have to type it in the full thing. So 288 at 51. 286 at 40. 288 at 25. And 45 at 7. And this true air or tail anti, I don't really know what that means. I haven't found any input for that that'll actually be accepted. So I usually just leave it blank. Anyways, that'll give us a more accurate ETA and you know, maybe a slight change in the top of the descent. But now it's 107 miles, so now we can go ahead and start briefing. So there's no ATIS online for Detroit Metro, so we're going to grab the weather from vPilot. And the MEDAR is showing wind 020 at 6 knots, 10 statute miles, scattered 3,500, broke 2,500, temperature 15, altimeter 3018, remarks, stuff. Not icing conditions, so that's good. So if the winds are 020 at 6, here I'll bring up You know what I'm gonna do? Stand by. I'm gonna try and get the Navigraph charts to work on this. XVCH. Alright, I seem to have gotten it working here. Yeah, wow, okay. I mean, yeah, it works. Let's see if I can, no. That's not what I want to do. There, I want to get rid of this. And I want to take a look at my arrival airport here. If it could just, yeah, there we go. So yeah, we're coming in on the Top Gun 2 arrival. So that's the first thing I'll pin. And I'll also get the airport and airport information. So for wind 020, that would make, let's see here, runway, any of the 4s, and the 3s technically. So the real flight is parking up at gate Alpha 36. So if we take a look at the parking gates for the south ramp and we look for Alpha 36 here, that's right there. So landing on runway 4 right would be a good idea with auto brake medium. So I'll just set that here on the auto brake. I never actually put it back from takeoff, that's my bad. And we'll go ahead and pick up the ILS for 04 right, I believe that's what we're coming in on. Yeah. And before we go ahead and brief for these procedures, we'll just put it into the aircraft's FMS. So once again, ILS 04 right via the Top Gun 2 with the Doneo transition. I'm going to see if I can take any of these transitions here by selecting my approach procedure here. ILS runway 04 right. There it is. So yeah, I don't think this would be ideal here. Yeah. Well, we could do cats. We could go direct cats, and then fly in and puts us on kind of a base leg. So yeah, that's what we'll do. So let's start briefing. So we'll read the note first of all. Radar required, RNAV 1, DME required. We have all of that. Expect runway 21 left. That's gonna be a negative. We're gonna get vectors after. Tell you what, we'll put ourselves on a vector after Chisder or something. For use on detail landing north. File expect the Cougar RNAV star. Cougar. Oh, okay. In that case, we'll take this instead of the Top Gun 2. Sorry. Making this more complicated than it has to be. So that, and then cats via the Cougar 2 Doneo. Just make sure that doesn't, yeah. So we're direct to Doneo right now. Okay, so blah blah blah. Airport elevation 645 feet. So we can edit that up here in the pressurization. Here to be 645 feet. As well as edit the altimeter, which I believe is, yeah, 3018. Okay, so, time to, take a look at the waypoints. So, Doneo, no restriction. Viper, no restriction. G-Juice, no restriction. Wolfman, 280 knots, 240 above, we have that. Mav, no restriction. Top Gun, 280 knots between 230 and 16. Hunt between 15 and 12. Cougar between 250 knots and between 10 and 11. And then we're going to switch off to fly to Road, no restriction, and then to Roy, 210 at 8. and then it should be vectors to cats. Now, if I'm correct, I'm going to actually utilize the plan mode here. Wow, I'm really not looking at this properly. I'm going to switch this to plan mode and zoom in here. And if I can just step through, yeah, see, now if we went, oh man, that looks, it did not draw that path well. If we just went direct to cats, so we'll click delete on the vector, and then go here, take cats, put it in, redirect cats, and then let me just zoom out. Yeah, that works fairly easy. Yeah, okay. So in that case, we can brief for the ILS now. Sorry, this is awkward. I'm not used to being in using this format. I just want you guys to be able to see the charts. So inches, level 180. I have 1 GPS required. We have that, and the DME as well. We have that radar. We have that. Simultaneous and DME procedures. So we'll come in at CATS 9,000 feet, 210 knots. We'll go direct Eldon with no restriction. Apparently it says 8,000 or above. We'll go direct Bang at 8,000 or above. Julep 7,000 or above. Kulop 6,000 or above. Hymex 5,000 or above. Evabe 4,000 or above. Jelly 3,000 or above. And then Etal, which is the platform, altitude of 2,000 feet, and then we'll fly it down. So that's kind of an interesting amount of steps down. 3-degree glide path, 140 knots. Yeah, we should be able to make that. Special aircrew required for Cat 2. So in that case, we'll take the Cat 1 minimum, 200 feet. To set the decision height, it's done with this little panel here. You can change the brightness and of the ND and the PFD, but on the top here you can set it. And you can see decision height, we'll just scroll it up all the way to 200. It's got the scroll wheel acceleration on this plane, so it's kind of awkward. But 200, and it's linked, so perfect. Let's take a look at the missed approach procedure then. It's going to be climbing to 4,000 on Delta X-ray Oscar, radial 035 to loop Pav, 15.6 DME, or loop. Alright, so we'll set up the radios and whatnot now after we add Detroit in the fix page. Hang on. Okay. 77 miles, okay. So, it's going to be an inbound course of 36 with the localizer frequency of 110.7. Hang on. 110.7. And we'll tune Detroit 113.4 on this side as a reference. MSA is 2,800 feet. So no significant terrain in the area. No issues to worry about. No threats, I believe. Weather seems good. And the traffic is very much light, if not any. So yeah. I'll cut back to you at top of descent. And I'll show you how you can initiate a descent in this aircraft. Yeah, one thing I completely forgot to do is landing performance, so I'll show you how you do that now. Same format as takeoff performance. You go to the EFB and you can select landing here, and what I'm gonna do is get the load sheet up here on the second or the first FMS actually, so we can see our landing weight, which is going to be 126,905. That's the first thing I'm going to put in. So click it, 126,905. Good. Now we're going to put the rest in. So we're landing at the Detroit Metro. We're going to land on, again, 04 right. Dry conditions. The winds are something like 020 at 6. Temperature 15. Yes, reverse. Auto brake medium. altimeter 3018. Flaps 1128, that works for me. Calculate it. So, it's going to give us a VRF with flaps 28 of 141, that's good. Clean speed of 230, a factor landing distance of 6,357 feet. If I bring up Navigraph charts here, and I take a look at here, 12,000 feet of runway. So that's just about half. So we could get off at Victor, cross runway 9 left, Yankee uniform into the ramp area. Nice and easy taxi. So I'll take that, and we can click these bugs again and click them again to display the landing information that we need. Once again, you have a landing data card as well. If you do not want to use the EFB or are simulating a flight from way back when nobody had EFBs because this plane is quite old, then that would be your data card. Alright, so we got a message to reset the altitude, so that's what we're going to do because we got 10 miles to run. So I'm going to set the platform altitude for the approach, which is something like, it's giving us it again. Give me a second. I just need to take a look at the altitude. It's giving us, 2,000 feet. So I'm going to bug 2,000 feet. By the way, also hold down tab if you want to get specific altitudes. If not, then you can just hold it regularly, go in increments of 1,000. And then we'll bug that and click it to arm it. And just like in a Boeing, as soon as we cross over that top of descent mark, it's just going to initiate it for us. Nice and simple. So I can't really think of anything I need to do during the descent procedure. So I'm thinking I'm just going to fast forward this video or something and get back to you when I'm on the approach procedure. Because to be honest, there's not really much to do. You're just chilling out. So yeah. Alright, just to give you a status update. Cleveland Center's come online, and we've got 8ish for Detroit Metro, so we're going to switch to the 3 right approach, ILS. So I've updated for that, so it's like, new frequency, new minimums. I'm not going to bother recalculating because it's like basically the same runway.
Cleveland Center,
A couple things that I'd like to add to the descent is oftentimes for the initial part you'll need the speed brake out a bit, so you can just scroll on it to bring it out. So that's always useful. But yeah, other than that,
5735 in the box for
we're coming in on the arrival pretty good. Almost at Cougar. VNAV is working very well. The red lights on the thing here, the gear, that only happens when you have idle thrust. So it's nothing to be worried about. Other than that, we're all good. We're still chilling.
120.35.
Coming through 10,000 feet, I'll show you what you need to do. Number 1 is put the wing landing lights on, extend them and turn them on. Oh, hang on. Yeah, if you trim it, the autopilot comes off. I'm actually looking to bring the speed brake back in after slowing down. Speaking of which, you'll see this here. This is kind of like an airspeed tape. It'll just have the target speed and the ball will move between fast or slow. That's really useful on the approach procedure. But still, usually I use that. Coming through 10k feet, that's usually when I like to turn the AUGs and trans pumps to warm them up for when I'll be needing them for the approach procedure. And also turning on continuous ignition. And that's about all. We're just coming in on the downwind leg, sort of. And you can see there's Detroit Metro. Wing lights and the logo light come on as well. Alright, so we've just been given the instruction to descend to 5,000 feet, which is a good way to demonstrate the 2 descent modes of this aircraft that are not VNAV descent. First thing we'll do is bug 5,000 feet and arm it, and the two ways you can do it are vertical speed and indicated airspeed. So, vertical speed is really simple. You can literally just scroll on this and it'll automatically activate the mode and you'll see vertical speed. The second way you can do it is through indicated airspeed or Mach, depending on whether you're an RVSM or not. So you can just click that. The throttles will go to idle clamp, and then you can use this scroll wheel to select at what speed you want to descend at. And that's what I usually like to do. So I have it selected at 240 knots. I have 240 knots bugged. We can see here IAS mode is engaged with clamp. And of course you can move the throttle about for a good descent rate, not too fast and not too slow. But that's the two descent modes of this aircraft. And now you can see we're dipping below the VNAV path.
AC-50, contact Chicago Center 120.35.
And now I'm going to leave the recording running just to, since we're getting close now, and I don't see the harm in leaving it going.
80, 50, 50, yeah.
120.35.
335, roger.
Delta 1505, radio check. Aircraft coming radio check 5 by 5. Roger, Delta 1505, can we get a PDC to Norfolk? Roger.
One thing I'm going to do is set the localizer on both sides for now, just because there's a bug I think right now where you can't get the localizer or glide slope to track on the autopilot from this side, so it's not that big of a deal, but that's just for extra insurance to make sure it works and I don't have to take it out manually, because I'd rather this be a more smooth arrival so I have ample opportunity to demonstrate the things you need to do. So we're currently on a vector leg now. What did it say here again?
For the 1623, descend maintain 3000.
Descent 3000, that's 1623. Yeah. Then on track 216. So yeah, it's just maintain present heading until vectors. Right.
670, contact Chicago Center 120.35. Have a good night.
The temperature gauge on this obviously is right here. It's reading
Contact
+4,
Chicago
so that
Center
is
120.35.
kind of icing
Good
conditions,
night.
but it's more or less K-box, so I'll keep the anti-ice off for now. Very good, so we're reading 11 DME. So, we're good to make the base turn now. Obviously, you can see the glide slopes coming in from the other way around.
With 1623, turn right heading 300, descend maintain 3000, back to the final.
Heading 300, descent 3000, vectors final, delta 1623. Alright, so once you've selected the heading, click on the H button, or heading hold, and it'll switch to that. You can push it in, I believe, and it'll sync the heading bug with your current heading. But that's what you do to select it. It's kind of like in the 767 or 757. If you're familiar with those aircrafts, we'll get terrain on this side now. As you can see, that's about a 90-degree base turn that we're making now. Oh, See, I have this, but it's still leveled off. Alright, back into idle clamp then. That's weird. Why just leveled off there just by me arming. 3,000, anyways, it's a new plane, there's bugs. So down we go. And I guess we're out of range at this point for it to be glide slope fail.
Delta 1623, turn right heading 010, intercept the localizer.
Heading 010 for the localizer, Delta 1623. So 010 is bugged, and we'll click VOR loc to arm the localizer capture. And now you can see we have two parameters armed, altitude and localizer. We actually have localizer fail now, oh dear. Oh, hang on, let me turn the bank angle back up. That's my bad. Now we'll get a better turn. Oh man. Completely, that's the only things I forget are the fairly important things. We'll be overshooting now as a result of that. Let's get some speed break out here. Another thing I'm going to do is click GA on the TRS system in case we need to do a go around. There it is. And now you see we have a local track. So we'll set the course on the MCP heading. Very, very good. In that case, we'll also proceed direct Harla, just to clean stuff up on the ND here. It's not going to actually activate the parameter here, but like unlike in an Airbus, but that makes it easy. Bring up the approach reference page, not that it really matters. Nobody really takes the numbers from that, at least in this plane. Alright, localizer capture.
902676 cross Brandon and maintain flight level 290.
And we're maintaining roughly 240 knots. It ain't perfect, but it works. We're a bit fast, but once we level off at 3,000.
Cross Brandon and maintain flight level 270.
It's really having an issue with
At and maintain 270, United 2676.
with following the glide slope here, isn't it?
Delta 1623, you're 2 miles from watch, maintain 3000 until inception of the glide slope. Clear for the ass runway 3 right approach.
3,000 still established, good, ILS 3 right approach, Delta 1623. Alright, in that case, 3,000 feet set, I'm going to click ILS to arm the glide slope capture, if it works, hopefully. We'll turn on the nose light for when we drop the gear. I'm going to... Where did the speed brake go? Yeah. I'm going to bring it back in and arm it, as well as setting this to some like 180 knots on the MCP speed so we can try and slow down a little bit here. I'll bring the slats out. That's all I'll do though. And we have auto brake minimum already set. Coming up on 10 miles. I'm also going to drop the gear now for the extra drag. What light do we have here? Yeah, gear door open. Alright, we'll also set flaps 11.
At 1623, wind and metro now 340 SI, runway 3 right, clear to land.
3 right, clear to land, Delta 1623. Alright, we'll bring up flap 15. Once we hit the glide slope, I'll bug the VREF and set flaps 28. Hopefully it should grab it. Let me just double check my approach altitude was 4,000 feet, yeah. Come on. There we go. Glide slope capture. Very good. So, now we can bug the VREF, which I believe is 141. And flaps 28.
1505
Yeah.
At Detroit.
And
Can we push back on our discretion?
So now that flaps
1505
28 is set, we can arm the auto
confirmed that we
brake.
can push it inside the apron.
So I'll just double check everything. We
Alright,
have
so
all the
that
lights
was
extended. We have
pushback at
wing
the
lights and logo lights. We got the
double
spoilers
pushback.
arms. We got flaps 28. We got the auto brake set to minimum and arms. No rain, so we don't need the wipers. Dome lights and stuff are off. Anything that would be any kind of distraction. So now we're good. We're about just under 5 miles out, and I'm gonna take the autopilot out now. So disconnect the auto throttle since it's already in
Contact Chicago Center
auto,
120.35. Have a good night.
and take out the autopilot, as well as the flight directors. This is a personal preference. I wouldn't recommend doing it your first time around since you really need that guidance, but to me it's just kind of an annoying cluster.
Push it to advisory again, under 5040, under 5041 today.
So we're getting a bit low here.
192301, contact Chicago Center 120.35. Have a good night.
We'll fix that here.
12035, United 2301, good day.
There we go.
Got 1003 anywhere airspace. The East Boston Center is offline. Frequency change.
So flying this aircraft is really awkward in Microsoft Flight Sim. I recommend tuning the flight control surfaces in the load manager, which I haven't done. But you do need a fair amount of power to bring her down. And the trim can often be a little bit like overpowered, I think would be the right word. Anyways, we've reestablished ourselves after getting a bit low. But yeah, it's going to take practice. I recommend flying a couple touch and goes in this aircraft before you take her out on a real flight. It's very different from the P3D version, if you're coming from that.
192676, contact Washington Center 133.72. Have a good night.
Oops. Hang on. There we go. Gonna be high here if I'm not careful. That was a bit of a gust. Land. Now this plane floats like crazy in this simulator right now, so just don't flare it at all. There we go, touchdown. Easy stuff, into reverse, nose down. And we have the reverse thrust deployed, as well as the spoilers up. Decelerating nicely. And we're through 60 knots, so reverse thrust will be stowed. Okay, so we'll vacate up here. Don't worry about anything. The auto brakes will automatically disarm.
23, welcome to Detroit. Taxi to parking via left on Whiskey Juliet. Have a good night.
Left Whiskey Juliet to the ramp, Delta 1623, good night. Alright, so, turn left on the Whiskey here. This is before we do anything at all. That's the thing. This isn't even specific to the aircraft, just a general good etiquette to make sure that your aircraft is clear of the runway and all hazards and whatnot before you actually go ahead and start cleaning her up. Alright. So now that we're clear, we'll go ahead and do that. So, auto brakes automatically disarm. We can move it back to off. We can open up the pneumatic crossfeed valves right after I do that for no reason. The click spots are kind of, for crying out loud, man. Hang on. Oh my gosh. Don't mind me just trying to taxi this plane while also doing this. Transponder standby, back to tilt above. Strobe off, wing lights off, wing landing lights off, nose light back to dim.
Frontier Flight 1046 Cleveland Center.
Turn that off.
Squawk
Continuous
5776.
ignition. And that's good. Now the MCP and the FMA are going to do a little bit of weird stuff. They're just doing like tests, I believe. Where did they say anything about Lima?
Frontier Flight 1046 Cleveland.
Frontier Flight 1046, Cleveland, Squawk 5776.
They said something
Frontier
about a
Flight
taxiway
1046,
Lima.
contact 30 miles southwest up to Toledo, VR file about 310. It looks like you're off course intention.
But I don't
I
really,
just
I
left
don't see
for
a
20
Lima.
minutes. I let Chicago know that. But I'm back and I'm getting
Yeah,
back on
nice
course now.
work, freaking Vatson
Frontier Flight
pilot.
1046,
So I'm gonna
consider
continue on
wings
Whiskey,
Johnny
turn
Brown
right on
4
Juliet, and then
arrival,
taxi to
December
the
Brown
ramp. So
4
that's a bit of a
arrival,
long
and
taxi, so I'm
Cleveland
gonna start the
altimeter
APU later on.
017 heading south,
I'll show you how you
runway
do
6
that.
left approach.
In the meantime, we can also make sure the block timer is stopped. I should have done that a while ago. And we'll run a quick overhead scan here. Cockpit floodlight, that's always a good thing. It's the dome light on this aircraft.
Frontier 1046,
I'll get the start pump going.
altimeter 30.17. Can you repeat the runway
Now,
you
I
gave
turned
me?
the galley power off for engine
Frontier
start
Flight 1046,
back at Boston, and I forgot to
wings,
turn it back
wings
on.
John the Brown
But
4
yeah,
arrival.
I think I
December,
already
the Brown
covered that
4
in the
arrival,
previous
55
video,
hours, runway 6 left
that you
approach,
need to turn it
8
back
Bravo's
on.
current.
But yeah, the dome light on this is
Frontier,
really quite spiffy. I don't really need it right now, though.
Frontier Flight 1046, descend at Browns 4 arrival, runway 6 left.
One thing I also need to do is bring the spoilers in.
Delta 1505 at Detroit ground, it was like a taxi to runway 3 left.
And bring it to
Delta
slats
1505
0.
Metro altimeter, Golf is current, runway 3 left, taxi via Uniform Foxtrot
Once that's coming in, we'll bring the
Uniform
slats in as
Foxtrot
well.
Mike and altimeter should 3019, Delta 1505.
So that's reading up, and now we can bring her in all the way. And I bet you didn't know I had a wing view. Yeah, I'm swag like that. So we're coming up to the terminals here. So if you have any questions, feel free to let them be asked in the comments. I know that the general audience for this sim tends to be a bit newer to flight simulation, and
The
this is
A04 Cleveland.
definitely a very
we're,
complicated
actually
plane for a
sentinel
new
aircraft
simmer.
from us.
So if you need any, help with anything, feel free to ask. If I didn't
Walker
explain it too well,
1705 Cleveland Center,
then
good
that's
evening. Refer
that's
to
something
the
I'm willing to fix.
Washington National Airport
So
PTSD. Cleveland
we'll
departure,
turn on the
use of
APU
transition
here
and,
again.
south,
Start for a
climb
few seconds. Let go.
Departure with me, squawk 5710.
And it's a good thing with this big cursor, you can really see what I'm doing. It wasn't like that in the P3D video. Hey man, we're really moving here, yeah. So this is the terminal we're going to park at. We're going to go on the inner side here, and we're going to look for Alpha 36.
Worker 1705, Rebecca, push and start at your discretion, call for taxi. Mike Sierra Romeo 173 Cleveland Center, squawk 5702.
The APU starting out there. And we're going to turn in here now.
5702, Boristar 173.
I wonder if these are the wing lights. Oh yeah, these are the wing lights. My bad. Okay. I guess I was using the wrong thing the whole time. Yeah. You see what it is? I still always forget stuff when I'm flying this plane. It's a good thing that's not that important, whether or not wing lights are, which one is wing lights. Floodlights ground. So what would they be in that case? It'd be these. So these are the wing lights. That's my bad. So APU should be available at this point, so we can turn on the generators, and they'll only actually flip on when we shut the engines down, and the generators go offline.
RNFB runway 3 left, clear for takeoff.
RNFB is runway 3
So
left.
Alpha 36.
Wind and Metro 3405.
Frontier Flight 1046, Cleveland Center, you mind if I go away for 5 minutes?
Alpha
Butterfly
36.
1046. That's approved.
Alright,
if
let's
you
taxi her
descend
in.
via the Browns 4.
What flight level do I descend to into the Browns 4?
The descent via is on the chart.
Yeah, I love that sim. Alright, turn that off. Taxi, nice and easy. I don't know what the heck is going on there. I'm just gonna ignore it.
Circuit flight 1046, descending to 15,000 feet.
We'll call it there. Yeah? Looks good. So, parking brakes are set. We can click the fuel, or we can scroll down on the fuel cutoff switches to shut them off. Thank you, Valanza, for loudly telling me something I already know. We'll stop the block timer. We'll set the transponder to standby.
Frontier Flight 1046, reset your
As well.
transponder squawk 5765.
Hang on a second. I must have clicked something here. Hang on.
Circuit flight 1046, repeat.
And we'll set
Frontier Flight
2000.
1046, reset your
So,
transponder
coming
squawk
up here,
5765.
we'll turn on this. We'll turn on the APU bleed, so that way these come on. We'll turn off these fuel pumps. We'll turn off the start pump. Disarm the emergency exit lights. No smoking and seatbelts come off. Meter select can come off, as well as the windshield anti-ice. We can open up the cockpit door.
That's 1505 radar contact, say altitude passing.
Double check the voltage on the APU is good, and it is good. Okay.
1505, roger,
That's
climb
something we
maintain
can do
level
as well.
370, delete spirit
Now,
restriction,
let's
Bow
see
Air,
if
Alpha India Romeo.
I can hook up the jetway here. It didn't work in Boston. We'll see if it works now.
Proceed to right
Yes,
to
it does.
Alpha
Oh,
India
yeah.
Romeo.
Gangster.
Maintain flight level 370, Delta 1505.
So what we'll do in that case is we'll... Hang on a second here. Start unboarding. And that'll do all its funny things. Anyways, welcome to Detroit Metropolitan Airport. That was the tutorial flight for the Leonardo Maddog. Now, it's not perfect. I made mistakes, yeah, but in my personal opinion, I think this is the best one out there right now. I'm not, you know, a real world pilot or nothing. That's why I don't make tutorials for a lot of other planes, because chances are there are videos made by real world pilots that can tell you that stuff with more efficiency than I can, but to my knowledge there is not anything better than this, so this is the go-to video right now, I think. So yeah, thanks for watching. Definitely gonna edit in all the stuff that I forgot, because I missed a couple tests which I managed to record for the second try of this flight, and then the wing lights and stuff like that. So yeah, feel free to ask questions. Thanks for joining me on this flight, and see you next time.